This is GPT-4o.
Whoa, that was so cool. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what was announced, show you some practical examples of what GPT-4o can do, and then finally, I'm going to pull it back a bit and give you the realistic expectations because I know there is a lot of hype around this. I've built products using their older models, and while they are fantastic, there are caveats to be aware of. So let's jump into it. They announced it's going to be free for everyone to use. Now there will be caps on that free tier limit, but you get to muck around. They also announced a desktop app where you can show exactly what's on your screen and ChatGPT can interact with it, so you can do live coding sessions as an example. They also, the new model. Previously, if you were chatting in their app, it would actually combine 3 individual models. One to convert your voice to text, another to do the actual logic and reasoning, and then a third one to then take that text and put it back into natural language. That's why when you use their app, there was typically a 2-second delay between responses. Guess what? You're featuring in my YouTube video.
That's awesome. What's your YouTube channel about?
See, that was quick, but it wasn't instant. Whereas with the latest model, instead of having to go through each individual model, they've managed to combine it in the single one, which gets you really quick, instant response times, and you can feel like you're having an actual conversation. They also announced a memory function, which I think is fascinating, where it can remember everything across all your conversations, which is great. We're going to come back to this point towards the end of the video. And they also announced the ability to browse, so it'll have real-time access to the internet and you can actually get it to browse information and get real-time data. If you want the latest weather or the latest sports results, it can now get that for you. That was it in terms of features. Now I'm going to take you through some of the actual live demos that they did.
This code fetches daily weather data for a specific location and time period, smooths the temperature data using a rolling average, annotates a significant weather event on the resulting plot, and then displays the plot with the average, minimum, and maximum temperatures over the year.
They only got it to explain what the code does. I didn't actually see it take over and do any coding, so I don't think it has the ability to replace us yet. But at least we no longer have to write documentation. While we may not be out of a job just yet, it looks like translators will be.
Mark, io mi chiedo, se le balene potessero parlare, cosa ci direbbero?
Mike, she wonders if whales could talk, what would they tell us?
Now I'm going to show you its ability to detect emotion and use visual capabilities.
Hey there, what's up? How can I brighten your day today?
Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna show you a selfie of what I look like, and then I'd like you to try to see what emotions I'm feeling based on how I'm looking.
Sounds like a fun challenge. Go ahead and show me that selfie, and I'll put my emotional detective hat on.
Okay, so here's me. So what kind of emotions do you think I'm feeling?
It seems like I'm looking at a picture of a wooden surface.
What's really cool about that is when he first opened the app up, he actually had the rear-facing camera up for like a split second before he switched it to the front-facing camera. And that's why the AI thought it was looking at the table. It was that quick.
Oh, you know what? That was the thing I sent you before. Don't worry, I'm not actually a table. Okay, so take another look.
That makes more sense. There we go. It looks like you're feeling pretty happy and cheerful.
I love how human that conversation kind of feels. It looks like tutors are also on the hit list because they had a live demonstration where it was able to not just give the answer of a math problem, but actually coach a student through logically solving it themselves, and it would give hints along the way, which was really cool. Now I want to finally show you a final application that I hadn't actually considered before, and this is really cool, and it's a way that will significantly improve some people's lives.
Try and tell me exactly what they're doing right now, please.
Right now the ducks are gently gliding across the water. They're moving in a fairly relaxed manner, not in a hurry. Occasionally, one of them will dip its head under the water, probably looking for food, and then pop back up.
It has the ability to describe exactly what's happening in the world, and this is really key for vision impaired people. That's a recap of everything they announced and some of the demonstrations of what it's capable of. Now, I'm absolutely on the hype train, but we do need to talk about some of the drawbacks, caveats, and things to be aware of. The first, you can't actually use many of these features yet. They are rolling out over the next couple of weeks. The desktop app and the ability to have those real-time conversations aren't available yet. So far, I've only been able to gain access to the playground where I could talk directly to GPT-4o. So it's not actually deployed, ready to go for the entire world to start consuming. They only dropped the announcement to get in the day before Google I/O happened and Google released all their cool announcements as well. So there's definitely beef in that timing. The memory feature, the ability to actually remember conversations and learn about a person throughout time, is amazing. I would love to have more context into the limitations of that. Typically, when you interact with an AI, it takes a certain amount of tokens to generate a response. And when you append all your chat history onto that, it increases the amount of tokens used. And all AIs have a max limit of what you can use, which is called their context window. There are some AIs out there with context windows of like millions worth. However, I believe ChatGPT 4o can only do 128,000. So I do wonder how much that actually translates into how much history it can remember from someone in their conversations. Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it a couple of years? Because ultimately what we want to get to is a personalized AI assistant that knows and grows with you over a long period of time. And while it's a step in the right direction with the history, I don't think they'll be able to support years worth of history. I also remain optimistically skeptical of the speed. I've built apps before using the ChatGPT 3.5 and Turbo models using their API, and quite often, even though within the app for OpenAI itself, it would be relatively quick, ranging anywhere from 0 to a couple of seconds. However, when I coded the API into my application, it seems for third-party app developers, you get a slower version. Quite often, a lot of my API calls would take anywhere between 1 and 15 seconds to respond, with the API often going offline and having issues. So while it's cool to see them demonstrate the live conversation within their app, I do wonder if us third-party developers are going to get the same reliability and speed. There have also been reports online that this model is a lot dumber than the 4.0 version. I don't know how much truth there is to this, as I haven't verified it myself. However, keep in mind they will train it over time and it will get better. And that itself is an important thing to note. While you use this and it may feel like a real life conversation, be aware all your conversation data is going to a private company and all of your conversations are going to be used to improve the AI. Where I'm going with this is when you have an AI that feels like you're talking to a person and someone you can trust and it feels comfortable, just know that your entire conversation history is going to a private company and they have full control over that data. So if you start to feel really comfortable with the AI, you start talking about your emotions, your feelings, maybe things that are going on in your life, they can then sell all of that data onto third parties, which is linked to your name. So just keep that in mind. And the final thing I am kind of worried about with this release, doesn't affect me or you directly in our lives, but the capability to put this into warfare. If you have an AI that can reason and understand the world in a split second, you can now easily chuck that into a robot and have it identify targets much faster than the human reaction time to shoot or do whatever needs to be done in a typical warfare scenario. I think this opens up the door for a lot of conversations society is not ready to have yet. So that is a closing summary of my thoughts. I think it's extremely cool. I can't wait to try it out. I wish I could run it locally so I could control my own data. Hopefully local AI catches up sometime in the future. But this is cool and exciting and I can't wait to chuck it into my Raspberry Pi. Once the API is released and ready to go, we are going to create some cool applications with it. So if you wanted to build things using the API and that sounds like something you'd be interested in, go ahead, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.